Welcome back to That Philly Sports Girl. I'm your host, Elise Person, and yay, finally an Eagles win. Eagles get their very first win yesterday against the San Francisco 49ers when they beat them 25-20, and they then become the number one team in the NFC East. Get that, week 4, the Eagles get their first win and become the number one team in the NFC East. I mean, what a conference that we've got right now. So competitive, But, the Eagles are finally starting to play to win. Watching yesterday's game, it was just an overall team win. We had the offense playing the best I think that we've seen all season. We had the defense consistently playing well, consistently rushing the passing game. The defense is attacking other teams' quarterbacks. I mean, the Eagles' defense right now is leading the NFL in sacks. That's awesome. Awesome. So let's just talk about the game yesterday. I mean, the Eagles are the very first team to put numbers on the board. Carson Wentz runs it in. That's now Carson Wentz's third rushing touchdown of the season. And then we go for 2. So I like to see Doug Peterson making decisions like that, especially after last week's decision to tie with the Bengals. I think it shows early on that Doug Peterson is still ready to make more aggressive game calls. Going for 2 isn't a super aggressive thing to do, but I think that it just showed that he still has the respect of the players. He still is ready, coming out to win, and I just think that yesterday's game showed that the Eagles are starting to play to win. Wentz has been much more mobile on his feet the past 2 games. I really, really like to see it. Last night, he rushed for 37 yards, and the week before, he rushed for 67. But in week 1 and 2, he rushed for a combined 9 yards. So we're really seeing Carson Wentz start to become more mobile, and I think it's really helping his confidence and just gameplay as a whole. I mean, he's just definitely been much more aggressive in the running game, and I love it. I have no issues with it whatsoever. It is awesome. Like I said, I think it's helping his confidence. I think it's just going to be really great to see Carson. It's like the old Carson Wentz when he used to scramble and he used to run, and now we're finally seeing that again. But so yesterday, 2 of the biggest plays came in the fourth quarter by no-namers. It's the Eagles' MO. We love taking guys that nobody knows who they are and having them make these massive plays that are going to help us win games. First we have to talk about Travis Fulgham's 42-yard touchdown and the plays that allowed that amazing touchdown to occur. So first we have to start with, I think was the momentum shifter in the game, was Cre'Von LeBlanc's great sack forcing a fumble that was recovered by the Eagles with 10 minutes left in the fourth. This was a huge play. The Eagles were down by 3 with 10 minutes left, and we get the ball on our own 40. And just such a momentum shift and just such a great play by Cre'Von LeBlanc. Awesome. And this is when we take the defense making great plays, and then the offense makes some great plays, and that's how we win. That is team winning right there. So after LeBlanc's forced turnover, the Eagles have a dominating drive. This is playing to win. So we have a few shaky plays at best. We were not really getting a ton of yards, so then it's 4th and 4. We could have just gone for the field goal, but no, Doug Peterson makes the call to go for it. I love it. That is playing to win. That is not playing not to lose. That is playing to win right there. So we convert on the 4th down. Carson Wentz has a play where he's scrambling. He finds Boston Scott. And that is the Carson Wentz that I know. That play ended up, there was some flags on it, so then it got moved up anyways. But just seeing Carson make that play and finding Boston Scott in the scramble, typically those balls have been turnovers. They have been interceptions, but to see Carson having the vision, seeing the defense at the same time, that is the Carson Wentz we know right there. He was making the big plays. And then came the 42-yard touchdown to Travis Fulgham, which, awesome. We love it. We love our practice players. Fulgham was brought up from the practice squad on Saturday. 2 days ago, he was not on the active roster. Just such a great job by this guy stepping up and making the play. Carson Wentz talked after the game about how that was the only second time that him and Fulgham have run that play. They ran it once in practice this week, and then they converted and scored a touchdown on it yesterday. He made a joke saying, we're 2 for 2 with that play. All right, keep it up. Let's go 3 for 3 next week. No, in all seriousness, just makes me so happy to finally see some great offense. So then the next big play comes from also kind of a no-namer, Alex Singleton, who benches Nick Mullins after getting a pick 6. And that just, fired the Eagles up. You have this incredible touchdown from Travis Fulgham, and then you have this pick 6 immediately after by Alex Singleton, and it was just such a momentum gainer. But like I said, we can't forget about the momentum changer that started it all. LeBlanc's sack that forced a fumble. So I think that we yesterday just capitalized off all the mistakes that the 49ers were making, and were able to transition them and make them into great plays of our own, which is how we are going to win games. Eagles, look, we have our first win, and we are capitalizing off the other team's mistakes. If we can keep that up, I think that we could have a few more wins left in our season. But no, in all seriousness though, back to Singleton's pick 6. He has been mainly a special teams player this season. So just amazing to see. Saying no-namer, I feel like it can be, I don't know, it's not like, oh, you're a no-namer, but great work, guys. Way to show up when the team needed you. 2 huge plays by guys that nobody knew who they were before, but don't worry, baby. We know exactly who you are now, and we'll be looking for you next week. And, we have these 2 guys because of all the injuries that we have. And the Eagles have they talked about it a lot last year. They're talking about it again this year, the next man up mentality. And the Eagles are really using that with the practice squad and special teams players that are making plays. So good for them. I applaud you. Great work. Keep it up. So like I've said, I was just really happy from what I saw yesterday. Maybe it was because I will say that I expected little from our team yesterday. I was not hopeful going into the game, but wow, a team win. I know I've already said that before, but it was a team win. And I think that's where we faltered last year. Last year, we would either have great defensive plays or great offensive plays. This year, we kind of have been subpar everywhere. But yesterday, we really put it all together and let the Eagles go to work on both sides of the ball. We had so many contributors in the passing game yesterday. We had 4 players receiving for over 30 yards, and the offense just felt spread out. I know 30 yards isn't a crazy, oh, wow, you received for 30 yards. But no, we have multiple players contributing to the offensive game, which I like. Like I said, we have so many injuries. Our wide receivers are running thin. So if we can use all of our receivers and spread the love, then I like it. The offense, to me, like I said yesterday, just felt spread out. I never felt like there was one guy that was doing all the work for us offensively. And I really liked, like I mentioned, what I was seeing from receivers. I want to talk briefly about Richard Rodgers. I think he's a great backup while we wait for Dallas Goedert to get healthy. Rodgers yesterday added 35 yards in the passing game, and he was making the plays when they came to him. He wasn't not a flashy player, but he was consistent. When the ball was thrown to him, he caught it, and that's all I need from you as a receiver. I don't need you to be doing anything crazy. I don't need you to be taking the game under your belt. But if you can be consistent and we can throw to you and you're going to catch it, I like it. You're a great backup. I like what I was seeing from Richard Rodgers. And, I'd already briefly talked about Wentz a little bit. I think that he just looked more confident with the running game. And I'm hoping to see that going into next week. I know that I think we need to give a lot of credit to Carson Wentz. He gets so much scrutiny. So much. I do it myself. I mean, you've listened to my podcast and have heard me scrutinize the heck out of this guy for the past 3 episodes. But he is able to know that the entire city of Philadelphia is talking poorly about him and still step up and show up. And I like that about him. I think that shows leadership, and I think that shows that he can make his way out of his rut. So, it was one game. We're going to need to see a little more from you next week too, Carson. But like I said, we're back on the Carson Wentz train after one win. So all Wentz really needs is this team to keep winning. And I promise the internet trolls and all the commentators will just slowly stop talking about him. As long as we're winning, that's all people care about. Defensively now, the Eagles finished with 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. Like I mentioned before, the Eagles lead the league in sacks, and the Eagles also got their first caused turnovers of the season. The Eagles have went the first 3 weeks without any interceptions, nothing. So the Eagles' first caused turnovers from Rodney McLeod picking off Mullins. Bring out the ski mask, baby. Here we go. That's what I love to see. Jalen Mills was being interviewed before the game, kind of joking, I'm ready to bring out the ski mask. It's happening tonight. I want to do it for me. And we did it. Way to go, guys. Way to show up and prove that you put your money where your mouth is. You said that you were going to get those turnovers, and you got them tonight. You didn't get 1 pick. You got 2, one being a pick 6, which fabulous play. We've already talked about it. But great work, defense. Putting your money where your mouth is and not allowing yourself to get caught up in the talk about you guys. Great work. That's all I can say is great job. Overall, the defense, like I said, had a great day, causing turnovers, rushing the passer, and that defense was helping swing the momentum of the game completely. I felt like the defense was creating positive strides, and the offense was then matching it. So if we can keep that up for the rest of the season, I will be happy with that. I will say, though, defensively, our linebackers are horrible. Horrible. Nathan Geary, please show yourself out. You are just, oh my goodness, they are killing us. We are so weak at the linebacker position. I mean, we look at 49ers, George Kittle was killing us. He finished the night with 12 receptions for 148 yards. And I will say the Eagles did have a pretty decent defense on the day, but I will get extra picky with the last couple minutes of the game because I personally felt as though the defense had taken the last 2 drives off. So let's kind of recap a little bit what happened yesterday in those last 2 drives. After Singleton's pick 6, the Eagles went up 24-14. This pick 6 benched Mullins, so then C.J. Beathard takes over center for the 49ers. The 49ers are down by 10 with 5 minutes and 42 seconds left in the game. Still decent time, but the Eagles have to make some stops. C.J. Beathard and his offense work their way down the field and score in 3 minutes and 40 seconds with 12 plays for 75 yards. That can't happen. And this also goes back to the Eagles linebackers because they were letting the 49ers run the sit over and over, getting about 10 yards on each of those plays. They were playing the long ball, but the 49ers were not going to go long. So you letting them get 10 yards with each drive is doing nothing for us. So that I was very frustrated with personally. I'm not too hot on the linebackers, obviously, and then that was happening and just frustrating. So they score in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The Eagles are now up 25-20. The Eagles offense then goes 3 and out, and Beathard and his offense come back out. So there's 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock. 49ers down by 5, and they're still able to pick up 55 yards in this minute and 40 seconds, and then they are forced to throw a Hail Mary that fortunately does not connect. But come on, we cannot be allowing some guy to come in with 5 minutes left and get over 120 yards of offense. That's, great work throughout the whole game, but we cannot take those last 2 minutes off. And I don't want to talk too much negatively about the defense because overall they had a great day, but we just have to remember, especially going into next week, no plays off. The defense, the Eagles are not good enough to just be like, oh, we got this in the bag. with 5 minutes left, I was like, all right, we still got to show up. We still got to show up because the Eagles, especially in the last 3 games, don't have the most consistent track record. So you need to make sure that you are taking care of your business and not taking trips off. You can rest when the game is over, when the final whistle blows off, and that's that. But overall, like I said, I'm happy with this win. We got to celebrate. The first one, they always say the first one's the hardest. Let's go get the second. So let's just take it all in. Let's celebrate this win. But we do have to talk about something that is directly affecting our team and has been now for the past 2 years. The injuries. Injuries. I feel like a broken record talking about it, but we have to address it because it's just such an impacting factor for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Last night, Lane Johnson heads to the locker room after the very first drive, comes back, steps out again. So Lane Johnson last night was in and out the whole game with an ankle injury. Same ankle that he had surgery on in August, and that's just been bothering him. Seems pretty consistently. So it's a tough situation because I don't want him playing, especially going only in week 4. We're still relatively early on the season, and he's playing with a lingering injury. But I also am not comfortable saying, oh, go rest it. No. I don't. We can't just go rest it. Our offensive line is all over the place, which I'll get to in a little bit, but it's just frustrating. So then we look at overall this week before the game. The Eagles barely had wide receivers practicing. And Carson Wentz, while I'm happy with his performance today, he is still not perfect. He still threw a pick last night, and he still has things that he can get better at. But then you look at practice on Thursday, and Greg Ward was the only wide receiver out of a 53-man roster that was practicing. How is Carson Wentz supposed to get any better when he has one wide receiver practicing 3 days before the game? I mean, come on. I don't know what it is. I mean, the Eagles' injury report on Thursday looked like a basketball team roster. There was 14 guys on the list. We have to kind of ask, are these injuries being babied a little bit? And it's also kind of a difficult situation because we're still early on in the season. I don't want guys like Lane Johnson battling these lingering injuries the entire season, but also we're having an insane amount of injuries just like we did last season. So I'm just frustrated into why this always happens to the Eagles. Just so many injuries. I said that we were going to talk about the offensive line. Due to injuries, the Eagles have started 4 different offensive lines in the first 4 games, which completely affects the offense. And that's what I wanted to mention too about Carson Wentz is he's having to work with different offensive linemen each week, which completely affects the offense. And it's just different with a different O-line every week. You can run certain plays with certain guys. There's certain blocking that is different with certain guys. So we just need to get more consistent, and I think that will also continue to help Carson Wentz if he has consistency on his offensive line. Each week he's preparing with different guys. So now we have Jason Peters on injury reserve with a foot injury. He's going to miss at least the next 3 games, and Jordan Mailata started at left tackle for him, which I think is also something that we need to talk about too because he impressed me last night. He has only seen 20 live NFL snaps. That was his first NFL start, and he's only been playing football for 3 years. So I was really happy with him last night, and hopefully he will just continue to get better. Like I had mentioned earlier, the Eagles have continued to have to adopt their next man up mentality, and I think last night the Eagles showed up, proved that mentality to work in their favor, and let's just see it getting better. Let's see these guys step up off the practice squad. Let's see these guys who are no-namers become household names. I love to see it. It makes me so happy for guys that have been cut and are in practice squads and are moved up the day before the game make huge plays. So, now the Eagles let's talk about them in this horrible conference of ours because now we're in first place. If the season ended today, we would be in the playoffs with one win. So let's just look at how everybody else did because this conference is poor. The Giants fell to the LA Rams yesterday 17-9. Daniel Jones was 23 for 36 with 190 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. This loss puts the Giants at an overall winless record of 0-4, and they hold on to that spot in last place. Good job, guys. You're holding on to that tight. The big story that came out of that game yesterday, though, was the fight between former Eagle Golden Tate and Jalen Ramsey that happened right after the game. Ramsey has 2 children with Golden Tate's sister, and Ramsey broke up with Tate's sister last year while she was pregnant with his child. Golden Tate was publicly upset about this, and after the game ended, the two walked towards midfield and just began taking swings at one another. So that was a big story that came out of the game yesterday. Now let's look at the Cowboys. The Cowboys fell to the Browns 49-38, putting them at an overall record of 1-3, and there was basically no offense in the Cowboys-Browns game yesterday. Cowboys led up the most rushing yards in franchise history with 307 yards. The Browns scored 24 points in the second quarter, and the Cowboys scored 24 points in the fourth quarter. So probably super fun game offensively. People were just trying to get their offensive stats up yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. But, wow, like no defense being played at all in the Cowboys game yesterday. And then finally, the Washington football team fell to the Ravens 31-17, putting them at the same record as the Cowboys of 1-3. Dwayne Haskins was 32 for 45 with 314 yards and no touchdowns. The Washington football team was scoreless in both the first and the third quarter. So just to talk about how the NFC East is such a weak conference, let's look at how they match up against other teams in the conference and against other teams in other conferences. The NFC East teams have an overall record now of 2-11-1 against other teams. These only 2 wins coming from the Eagles versus the 49ers and the Cowboys versus the Falcons. 11 losses against other conferences. I mean, I think that just goes to show how poor the NFC East is, but hey, we're in first place. I'll take it. So let's talk about next week now. The Eagles are going to face off next Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are currently 3-0 and coming off an early bye. So I think that for the Eagles looking into next week, we need Carson Wentz to stay confident and continue using his legs. I really like the way Carson stepped up, spread out the offense, and ran the football a little bit. So I would love to see that going into next week, and hopefully the Eagles offense can continue to play the way that they did yesterday. And as for the defense, keep it up on the D-line and in the secondary. But dear linebackers, get it together, please. I don't ever want to see a team run the sit for 10 yards over and over and over and over on us. So please step it up. I think that that's a position that we are clearly weak in, but we need to go into this week and fix that because that's just a huge hole and gap in our defense that we don't want the Pittsburgh Steelers to utilize and capitalize on. So hopefully, though, as a whole, we will be able to pull out another win next week, and that would just be phenomenal. We would love to see that as Eagles fans. And that's going to do it for today. From the first Eagles win, I'm That Philly Sports Girl. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week.